Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is Truckin April 1989, 33 years ago, 34 years ago. And I don't have many 89 issues. I have probably 4. You guys know recently I've been going through the different years, so 90, 91, so on and so forth. But I did want to stop and give you guys a little bit shorter of an episode, or flip through rather. This was Hot Tops out in Tempe, Arizona. Their I-Zu-Zu Pup. This thing was awesome. I believe it did surface, and I think Craig had it. I want to say it was this truck. I could be wrong. And I believe I had asked him or someone, and they said that, I think he said he had sold it. So I don't know if it is this truck or not, but check out, this was basically the end of an awesome decade, almost halfway through the 89 year, I guess. Probably shot, I would assume, late 88, possibly early 89. But 4, 5, 6 month lead time. Alan Paradise shot it, and you can see they are picking up their friend. Straight 80s outfits all the way, going to play some tennis, looks like, with the tennis balls. I was going to say racquetball, but I don't think they were playing racquetball. If we flip in here, now this issue, as I've said, you're going to see some of the other videos if you end up watching through the 90s covers of Truckin. The staple, I think that they used the staple for a long time, and these issues do start to come apart. I think we saw at some point, or I saw at some point going through them when they stopped using those in the early 90s. But I want to say they probably used those all the way up through the point of the change. But you can see here, Thomas GQ cruises with Jennifer Tether for a few games of tennis with Shelley Edwards. She was technically the model. Most luxurious resort. The Hot Peach I-Zu-Zu, built by the girls at Hot Tops in Tempe. So you can see Alan Paradise gets the credit there. Now, we've had Alan on, and one thing about Alan is he has an amazing memory. He can remember a lot of these features, and we talked about, of course, him shooting a lot of the early mini trucking covers. A good handful, but of course he had his hands in the magazine, as he said, even before that, and of course teamed up with Steve Stillwell. The collective minds together is really what helped us spin off, helped them spin into mini trucking. But of course, they were still featuring, and you'll see as we go through more of the 90s issues of Truckin', even though they had a sister publication, they were not shy to put mini trucks in the publication or even on the cover, as you can see here. Mini Truckin' obviously was just at the infancy, because there was one issue in 89, and then there's basically one issue in 88, 4 in 89. So if we take a look at this here again, the Peach I-Zu-Zu, Hot Tops. I think I may have said Hot Topics, but Hot Tops. Speaking of tops, you can check out the straight 90s attire. But who doesn't love a topless mini? Now that I think back and I look at so many features of all these topless trucks, man, I mean, it was readily available to go buy a kit to do these. There's even a channel, and I forget off the top of my head, that I subscribe to, the Mini Truckers on YouTube, and they've done a couple of the radical top installs, and they've showed it beginning to end, and it's pretty cool to see it. This, of course, in the 80s actually looked pretty awesome. Got the light covers, you got the different grills set up on it. It's got the sunglasses, of course, on the hood. But really, I think from an old school standpoint, it easily stands the test of time. Ladies' Choice, it's called. And that tied into what we saw on the table of contents with them saying the ladies built it. This was Shelley Edwards, as I mentioned. You get a little bit more the feature in color here, which is good. You can see the graphic, nothing crazy, but, very old school, I guess. Here you can see that Alan has moved from the front, where the front was shot here, and the guy in blue sitting in it with the girl talking to her friend. Now they're, of course, looking over at the camera. All of them are. And this is where it gets fun. Check out the tailgate. pretty crazy. You know, we would see all kinds of things from aquariums and stuff like that, but to have it boxed the way it is and then have neon inside it with kind of the splatter paint deal, pretty crazy. It's got, of course, the body kit on it, molded in, it looks like. And it looks like it was at SEMA, so they may have even shot it, you know, right after or, you know, right around that time. Again, without the magazines, it's really hard to, you know, you can't go on a website and go, oh, what was SEMA 88 like? You know, let's line up some photos, let's look, because there just weren't websites. It's hard to kind of believe, you know, until the mid to late 90s. Really, the late 90s things get kicking, but I mean, if you think about like AOL and, you know, the different things, America Online and some of that stuff, Prodigy, that stuff was kind of the mid 90s. But again, people updating their websites and stuff really wasn't a thing. So I'm sure there's people that have collections of photos from, you know, SEMA, whatever, but you can see right here, the unveiling of the project from the guys at Hot Tops. Couldn't believe what the gals, headed by Teresa Setterholt there. I believe basically maybe they had just kind of said, hey, ladies go wild, you know, come up with a concept, I guess is maybe what it was. This is one that I've acquired over the course of time. Even when I was younger in 89, you know, I'm 10, 11 years old, I was more into reading freestyle magazines and bike stuff and video game stuff. That's what I was into at that point. Of course, baseball cards, trading, all that stuff. Reading Beckett Price Guide. But pretty cool feature. Definitely hit, you know, history for mini trucking. Another mini truck on the cover. I've never went back. It would be hard to kind of nail down. I guess I could at some point nail down all of how many mini trucks were on the cover. They were more prevalent in this era, especially even mid 80s into the 90s. Towards the end, you know, it was a lot of lifted trucks, a lot of full-size trucks, as you would imagine. There were some minis, you know, again, even Gendro's Ombre. Even towards the end, Mike Alexander shot a group photo, which I looked through that one the other day when I think it was at LST. You know, it was like 5 or 6 trucks. I mean, there were some. There was a Colorado that he shot, but definitely more in the mid 80s and 90s than you would see towards the end of Truckin's reign. Alan Paradise, shout out, the OG. Another awesome cover. If Alan watches these, huge shout out to Alan. He's a very talented dude and love that he came on the podcast. Check us out via any podcast app. Subscribe. I'm going to go ahead and flash it now. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel or click through to the next video. That helps us. Or click on some of our playlists. I've got all the mini trucking for the different years all categorized. You can let those play through. Listen to them. Watch them. It helps us out. We're almost right at monetization finally for this channel. We appreciate you guys. Buy merch at ourlifestylepodcast.com. Link in the bio. Peace.